The night my husband called me useless in front of 300 people, he had no idea I had already traced every stolen dollar back to his name. And by the time he finished smiling at the crowd like he was the perfect husband, I was ready to destroy the lie he had built for years. My name is Emma, and for 3 years, the world thought I was married to a loving man named Ryan Bennett. People used to envy me. They would see us at dinner parties, at family gatherings, at charity events, holding hands, smiling for photos, and they would say the same thing every time. You two are such a beautiful couple. You're so lucky to have each other. Ryan is such a gentleman. And I would smile politely, because that is what people do when they do not know the truth. The truth was my husband was not a gentleman. He was a gambler, a liar, and a man who had been quietly burning through my life savings behind my back, one secret risk at a time. But I did not know that at first. At first, I believed the act too. I believed the late nights at the office. I believed the stress. I believed the tired eyes, the fake smile, the excuses. I believed him when he said he was investing for our future. I believed him when he said he wanted to grow our money. I believed him when he said he had a chance to change everything for us. And because I loved him, I gave him space. I gave him trust. I gave him access. I gave him the savings I had built carefully over years of hard work. I was a financial analyst. Numbers were my life. I spent my days studying risk, balance sheets, market behavior, cash flow, bad debt, and fraud patterns. But when it came to my own marriage, I made the same mistake many smart people make. I trusted the wrong person because I loved him. Ryan knew exactly how to hide it. He opened accounts in both our names. He moved money in tiny pieces so it would not look suspicious. He told me he was reallocating funds. He spoke in business language so that I would not question him too much. And whenever I asked something simple like, "Why did this transfer happen?" he would laugh and say, "Babe, this is what you hired me for. You handle data, I handle growth." He made my concerns sound stupid. He made my questions sound controlling. And slowly, over time, I began to doubt myself. That is the most dangerous part of betrayal, not the lie itself. The way it teaches you to stop trusting your own eyes. I remember one night clearly. It was late. The house was dark, except for the kitchen light. I was reviewing a report on my laptop when I noticed a transfer that made no sense. $15,000. Gone. Then another. Then another. My heart started beating faster as I dug deeper. I checked one account, then another, then the credit card, then the investment app. And then I found it. The money was not going into mutual funds like he said. It was going into a trading account, a high-risk account, and then gambling platforms, online betting, crypto speculation, margin trades with absurd leverage. My hands got cold. I kept scrolling. Loss after loss. Heated transfers, emergency loans, interest piling up, and then the final insult. He had used my personal savings account as collateral for debt. My savings? The money I had built from 10 years of work. Money I had set aside for a house, for safety, for our future. He had turned it into fuel for his addiction. I remember sitting there in silence, staring at the screen, unable to breathe. Not because I did not understand, because I understood perfectly. He had not just lied to me. He had been gambling with my life. For a long time, I said nothing. I did not confront him immediately. I needed proof, not emotions. Proof. Because people like Ryan do not confess when you ask them nicely. They deny. They smile. They turn the story around until you start questioning yourself again. So I became patient. I copied every statement. I saved every transaction. I pulled emails, screenshots, account logs, payment confirmations, text messages, and bank records. I documented every lie, every excuse, every hidden withdrawal. I even tracked how often he had asked me in a casual voice to move some money around or approve this one small transfer. There was nothing small about it. By the time I finished, I had enough evidence to bankrupt his lies. But I still waited. Because I wanted the truth to come out in front of everyone. Not in private. Not in a tearful kitchen argument. In public. At a place where he would not be able to control the story. That chance came sooner than I expected. His company was hosting a large anniversary gala at a luxury hotel downtown. Black tie, champagne, photo wall, executives, investors, family members, important clients. Ryan had invited everyone he wanted to impress. And of course, he wanted me there too. He wanted me to stand beside him and smile like the loyal wife while he played the successful husband. He had no idea that I had already printed the papers. He had no idea that I had a folder in my handbag with every lie arranged in perfect order. And he had no idea that by the end of that night, his perfect image would collapse in front of the very people he was trying to fool. I remember getting ready that evening. I wore a deep navy dress. Simple but elegant. Nothing dramatic. Nothing flashy. I did my hair neatly. I put on small earrings. And I looked at myself in the mirror for a long time. I did not see a broken wife. I saw a woman who had finally stopped waiting to be rescued. At the hotel, the ballroom glittered with gold lights and crystal glasses. The air was full of expensive perfume, laughter, and the kind of fake warmth rich people use when they want to seem graceful. Ryan walked beside me with one hand in his pocket and the other resting lightly on my lower back, as if he were the perfect husband. People smiled at us. Flashes went off. A few of his coworkers complimented me on my dress. One woman said, "Ryan is so lucky to have such a supportive wife." And I nearly laughed. Supportive. That word. People say it like it means love. Sometimes it just means silence. Ryan was in a good mood that night. Too good. The kind of good mood that comes from arrogance. He had been drinking. Not enough to stumble, just enough to become careless. He was surrounded by his colleagues, shaking hands, telling jokes, acting like a man who had built his success with discipline and hard work. And then, halfway through the evening, he did what arrogant men always do. He tried to make himself look bigger by making me look smaller. There was a microphone on stage for the hosts. People were talking near the front of the room. Someone mentioned how impressive it was that Ryan had managed to stay afloat during a tough year in the market. That was all it took. Ryan laughed loudly, took the microphone without being asked, and said, "Well, I don't do it alone. My wife likes to remind everyone she's the financial genius in the family. But honestly, she'd probably faint if she had to make a real decision." A few people laughed politely. He smiled wider. Then he said, "Emma is good with numbers. But let's be honest, she's not exactly built for pressure. I'm the one who keeps things moving." The room got quieter. I felt the air change. He was not done. He turned slightly toward me, smiling like he was telling a harmless joke, and said, "She worries too much. If I listened to her every time she panicked, we'd still be sitting on a pile of cash doing nothing with it." Then he raised his glass. "To risk takers." More nervous laughter. Then he added the line that sealed his fate. "She may handle the spreadsheets, but I handle the real money." There it was. Not just humiliation. En admission. A public lie. Wrapped in arrogance. He thought he was being charming. He thought he was making himself look confident. What he was actually doing was standing in front of a room full of people and exposing the very thing he believed I could never prove. I looked at him. And he looked back with that smug little smile, waiting for me to play my part. He expected me to blush, or stay quiet, or smile awkwardly and let him win. Instead, I walked to the stage. The room grew even quieter. Ryan's smile faltered for half a second, but he recovered quickly. "Emma," he said into the microphone, laughing a little. "Coming to defend herself?" I took the microphone from his hand. My voice was calm. Too calm. That was what scared him. I looked at the audience and said, "No, I came to correct the record." A few people shifted in their seats. Ryan gave a small laugh, but it was nervous now. I opened my handbag and took out the folder. I have spent the last 6 weeks reviewing every account, every transfer, every email, and every trade associated with our shared finances. The smile left his face. I continued, and I found that while my husband was telling everyone he was building our future, he was actually gambling away my savings, hiding debt, and using my name to cover his losses. The room froze. Nobody moved. Nobody laughed. Ryan's face turned pale. He stepped toward me and said quietly, "Emma." Not here. But I was already holding up the first page. Bank transfers. Date. Amount. Account number. Then the next page. Trading losses. Then loan documents. Then credit card statements. Then screenshots of messages where he asked me to trust him one more time. Then emails from debt collectors. Then a digital trail showing how he had moved money from my personal savings into high-risk speculation accounts without telling me. I did not raise my voice. I did not scream. I did not cry. I simply read the truth out loud. And the more I spoke, the more the room changed. A signed separation filing. I had already prepared it. "I've also filed for separation," I said. "And I have frozen every account that touches my name." Ryan's eyes widened. That was the moment he realized he had lost control. Not because I was louder than him, because I was prepared. He tried one last time. "You're ruining me," he said under his breath, but I heard him. I looked at him and answered quietly, "No, Ryan. You ruined yourself the moment you decided my trust was easier to steal than my money." That sentence hit the room like a thunderclap. No shouting, no drama. Just truth. And truth has a way of sounding louder than rage. After that, everything broke at once. His investors demanded answers. His boss asked to speak with him privately. A woman from the finance committee requested the documents. His sister stared at him like she did not know him. His mother, who had always adored him, began crying. And Ryan stood there in his expensive suit, with his polished hair and perfect smile looking smaller by the second. He kept saying my name like it could fix anything. "Emma, please. Emma, we can talk. Emma, don't do this." But I had already done it. Not out of revenge. Out of survival. Security was called. The event organizers began discreetly moving people away. The whole room was buzzing now, but it was not excitement. It was shock. The collapse of a man's perfect image is always loud. I stepped off the stage, and for a moment, I thought I might feel victorious. I did not. What I felt was something much deeper. Relief. Sadness. Grief. Because no matter how strong I was in that moment, I was still standing in the wreckage of a marriage I had once believed in. And that is a painful thing. People like to make betrayal look dramatic in movies. They love the slamming doors, the screaming, the tears. But in real life, betrayal is quieter. It is the way your husband smiles at you while hiding debt behind your back. It is the way he uses your savings and calls it investment. It is the way he makes you feel unreasonable for asking questions. It is the way you slowly begin to disappear inside your own life. That night, after the gala, I went home alone. The house was still, too still. I sat at the kitchen table where I had once trusted Ryan with my future, and I finally let myself cry. Not because he had won. He had not. I cried because I had loved someone who saw my love as a resource. I cried because I'd ignored the warning signs. I cried because the woman I had been would have kept forgiving him until there was nothing left to forgive. But that woman was gone now, and in her place sat someone stronger, someone clearer, someone who knew the difference between compassion and self-destruction. The next morning, the phone calls started. His family called. His office called. A lawyer called, then a bank representative, then another. The story spread quickly, because stories like this always do. The perfect husband, the hidden debt, the public exposure, The financial analyst wife who had done her homework. People who had once admired Ryan now wanted nothing to do with him. His company launched an internal review. His accounts were audited. His loans were exposed. And the man who used to brag about real money suddenly had none. As for me, I did not celebrate. I did not post anything online. I did not make a speech. I simply rebuilt. Slowly, quietly, I moved my money. I protected my credit. I changed the locks. I spoke to my attorney. I blocked the people who tried to guilt me into keeping the peace. And for the first time in a long time, I slept without fear. Weeks later, I heard through a mutual acquaintance that Ryan had tried to tell people I had embarrassed him unfairly, that I had destroyed his reputation, that I should have handled things privately. Maybe that sounded better to him. Maybe he thought people would agree. But here is what I know. A man who steals from his wife and lies to the world does not get to complain when the truth walks into the room. And a woman who has been silent for too long does not owe him another chance to keep lying. I used to think love meant patience. I thought it meant sacrifice. I thought it meant staying quiet to protect the person you care about. Now I know better. Love is not supposed to make you smaller. Love is not supposed to make you question your own reality. Love is not supposed to turn you into a vault while someone else empties it. Real love is honest. Real love is safe. Real love does not hide debt and call it ambition. And if someone ever needs to hear this, hear me clearly. Trust is not weakness, but blind trust can become a prison. I learned that the hard way, and I survived it. That night at the gala, when my husband tried to humiliate me in front of everyone, he expected me to break. Instead, I gave him the one thing he never believed I had: proof. And sometimes, proof is stronger than anger. Sometimes, it is stronger than money. Sometimes, it is stronger than love. Because when all the lies fall apart, the truth does not need to shout. It only needs to be shown. And once I showed it, his whole world collapsed. Mine did not. Mine began again. So if you ever see a perfect couple smiling in public, remember this. Sometimes the happiest looking marriage is the one hiding the deepest betrayal. And sometimes the quiet woman standing beside him is not blind at all. Sometimes she is simply waiting for the right moment to speak. And when she does, everyone listens.